Hey there guys, it's Joey and this is this week's dubious drawing, a little bit later than usual because of the misunderstanding with the rune pulling. So this is my rune and I actually had to go through the entire lot of my runes to make sure this was right because it doesn't... Maybe it's that way. Because this is what the rune looks like an across. So it must be that way up, but it doesn't look right. And I went through all my runes to make sure this was the right one and made sure that I had got Gifu in the other pile, and this is the right one, so... It's an interesting rune, fragmented, which is interesting given the meaning. A bit of a heart shape on top, which is interesting as well, because I'm going to touch on that in a sec. Right, so here goes the drawing. And we have beach down here for the correspondence. And then we have some sayings. Caution for success. I wasn't entirely sure. Maybe a hand upright for the imagery, but I'll have a think on that some more. Past conditioning with a little bit of a clock. Emotional distress clouds vision. And also, what I read in my book, which was really interesting, is it also represents the primal needs and desires that mean you seek out a lover in Icelandic lore. And not 5 minutes after I read this, there was a post on a different message from Icelandic lore, so I was meant to take notice of this, I think. So it's relatively simple with the drawing this week, and so you have the rune in the sort of two blocks of thick sticks, like I draw them, and the Nied up there, and it's also pronounced, there's also a pronunciation of now these and Nied, and I'm presuming it's the different languages again. I haven't actually looked that up, I should have really, but never mind. Okay, so down at the bottom we have the scissors cutting the frayed thread. It's tied securely around the middle. We have more scissors cutting the frayed thread down there. A broken heart down here. Time and a clock, which is a little bit wonky on purpose. And then information. And like a scroll. And it's referring to sort of a scroll being information from the past, so past conditioning. The broken heart can be relating to the emotional distress, and the clock and all of that is because there is a time element here with being careful and crossing and watching how you react to things within this period of time with this rune. But I focus mainly on the scissors and the thread and the frayed threads and the sort of cutting. Now it's worth mentioning that all of this up here is not cut, and then it's just after a certain point. Same up here, you know, there are only bits that aren't connected. And it's that, first and foremost, it's that lack of connection. It's supposed to represent the emotional disconnect, the having to resist things that are maybe not good for you. That from a health point as well, sometimes when you're ill you can feel cut off in yourself. So as well as enduring hardship and adversity, and you know, the feeling cut off from other people. But there's also hope within this, because obviously not everything has been cut. It's just learning to fight through and focusing your positive thoughts and your will on what remains and what was already there and what has not been cut off, if that makes sense. And then the scissors are sort of as well, they're sort of the mental clarity side of this rune, because it's supposed to be that, you know, those who survive come through it to be greater philosophers, and I know all about hardship teaching you everything you need to know for a short period at least, until you learn some more, and then you should definitely keep learning. But it's the idea that, you know, you learn to survive and get through, and you learn to cope with what you have rather than that, you know, and let go of what was and what has been cut away to allow for growth. So that's it for this week's rune drawing. Many blessings.